Hello and welcome to the Community UK event. I'm here to guide you through how this works and tell you a little bit about the Community UK platform. Community UK is the new way to run really accessible and professionally run consultations. We're here to encourage people to participate in these events, to ask questions and then share their views about the project. If you're on our watch page and you haven't registered, why not press the button to register? If you registered, we want you to submit your questions now and throughout the event. Submit your questions below the video. If you need help registering or submitting questions, you can call our event helpline on 0800 511 8225, which is open now and will be during the course of this event. There is one other way of submitting questions. You can record a 20-second video question on the video questions page. There's a link on this page. At the end, you can share your views about the project using the Share Your Views button on the top bar on this page or in the email we send you afterwards. Finally, to help you, we record these events and place the videos on this website in the next few days. It's a great record of these events, particularly as the questions can be time-stamped, so you can scroll down and find an answer to the question you're looking for. Right, the event will start soon, so get ready and thank you from all of us at Community UK.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this live consultation event for the emerging proposals for the land to the south of Britannia Point in Colliers Wood. My name's Matt Harmer and I work for Your Shout, and we're organising the community consultation for this project, working alongside the rest of the project team, some of whom I'll introduce to you in just a moment. Now, this is the second of our consultation events where we'll present the proposals to you and then put your questions to the project team. This afternoon's event will last between 30 and 90 minutes, depending on the number of questions that you ask. Now, you can ask as many questions as you like, but we do ask that you can keep them as short and direct as possible so that we can answer them in the best manner possible. Now, there are a couple of ways you can ask your questions. If you've registered to attend this event, then the best thing to do is to type them into the box below the video that you're watching now, or if you're on YouTube with us, type them in to the text-only page. If you need help in any way, you can see the number on the screen. I think you can call us on 0800 511 8225. I beg your pardon, 0800 511 8225. And that helpline is open all the way through this event. Now, the questions should be on what we call material planning considerations. That's basically anything that will be considered by the planning team at London Borough of Merton and the Greater London Authority. But that's a very wide area and shouldn't constrain us at all. We've been asked by a couple of neighbours about a potential change and why the dates of the consultation were changed. Here's what happened. In an earlier meeting with councillors and the planning authority, we suggested slightly later dates. The council suggested that we move the consultation dates a little earlier just to stay away from the end of term, and we were happy to do so. So if you feel that the consultation dates have moved, that's why. After questions, we want you to share your views on the project. You can do that by hitting the Share Your Views button on the top bar or the one that's further down the page that you're watching at the moment. So let me now introduce our team members that are taking part with us this afternoon. From our team of architects, we're joined by David. So David, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi there, good afternoon. David Murphy, Associate at Hal Architects. Architects and lead designers.
I beg your pardon, David. We're also joined by our landscape architect, Paul. Paul, if you could say hello.
Hi, my name is Paul Shirley-Smith. I'm a director at Camlin's Landscape Architects, and our work is about placemaking, urban greening and building safe communities.
Thank you very much. Our planning consultant is James. James, could you come on and say a little bit about what you do?
Good afternoon. I'm James Armitage Hobbs from DP9 Planning Consultants, and we'll be running and managing the planning process for the client.
Thank you. Okay, from Criterion Capital, the applicants, we're joined by a couple of colleagues. Firstly, Chung, if you could come on and say hello to everyone.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Chung Man, Senior Development Manager in Criterion Capital. I'll be managing and developing the project, taking this project forward.
And we're joined as well by Chung's colleague, Tim. Tim, if you could say a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Bystead. I'm the head of development and design here at Criterion. I'm an architect, but I'm acting as the client in this format. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, before we move on to a presentation on the project, we're going to go back to Tim, because I know, Tim, you wanted to say a couple of words about the situation around Britannia Point. So, Tim, I'll hand back to you.
Thanks, Matt. Firstly, thank you so much for sparing time on your Friday afternoon to come and listen to our proposals. Before we dive into our proposals, I just want to say a few words about Britannia Point in light of what I've learned over the last few weeks, that there's been some issues which I wasn't fully aware of. So both in terms of the scaffolding bill relating to the glazing that was falling out. So that is something that I'm chasing a resolution to with my colleagues. Also, in terms of maintenance of the building, I've been made aware that there have been some issues with lifts, hot water, and parcels, etc. I've in the last week or two, myself and Chung have had multiple conversations with the facilities management part of the business, and we're obviously it's not with us, but that doesn't give you any comfort, and we take it as our responsibility, obviously, to feed those concerns through, and we're working actively to improve the situation. And we encourage anyone who has any ongoing issues to contact us so that we can get those resolved. But rest assured, we take your complaints very seriously, and we're dealing with them. So going forward into our proposals today, we've got a fantastic team of architects and designers who have come up with, I think, some really exciting proposals for the site behind Britannia Point. So hopefully we can really add benefits to the community more so than just having an empty piece of land with a fence around it. So yeah, really looking forward to your comments. We might not have all the answers that you're looking for today, and the reason for that is we chose to come to you early in this process rather than later on, which means that you can have a voice and you can influence the design. But that does mean that we might not have technical details because we haven't gotten so far in terms of obviously developing layouts and design and technical studies like daylight sunlight, flooding, and wind and things like that. But rest assured, those are all things that we've appointed consultants to tackle, and further along in the process, we will have that information to hand. But at the moment, it's very much early doors, and we wanted to really show you how far we've come so far and our initial thoughts for the site, and really looking forward to your questions, to your feedback on it. Thank you so much.
Tim, I'm going to ask you a question now, actually, that has just come in while you were talking there. And I think somebody's asked, should people feel that you can be responsible for the new development, given some of the things that happens in the past? Perhaps this is an opportunity to reassure people watching that you're taking everything very seriously and that people can trust you.
No, absolutely. From what I've heard, it's we've not done as good a job as we should have done to date, but it's something that I think we've already made a number of steps in the last few months to correct those things. But it's something that I'm personally taking an interest in now to make sure that we can put some of those concerns to rest, and then we can move forward in a productive manner and really contribute not just for the development of the south site we're talking about, but also the immediate surroundings around the station and Britannia Point, that hopefully we can also look at it in a holistic manner to make sure that there's benefit for everyone.
Right, great. Thanks for clearing that up. I think it's now time to turn to the presentation. So you will hear from David in just a moment, who will start presenting the scheme. But David, over to you.
Thanks, Matt. So we're HAL Architects, lead designers for the latest proposals. Here are some examples of some recent and current housing projects in Walthamstow, Nine Elms and Brentford, amongst others. We love to work closely with landscape designers to deliver largely public realm-led developments. One such development illustrated at the top left here is MC Gardens, where we worked very successfully with Paul and his team at Camlins.
Hi, yeah, so we're landscape architects, and our practice is experienced over the last 40 years with a focus on, excuse me, on urban regeneration, which is all about community building through creating new neighbourhoods, with a focus on social activity and biodiversity. And there's a wide range of examples here across parts of London and also other places. And we, as David said, we like collaborating with HAL Architects. Next page, please. So our approach here at Colliers Wood is actually really typical and is based on thinking about the quality of public realm and about thinking of the centre of Colliers Wood as a whole, and asking ourselves the question, how can this development maximise benefits to the place as a whole? And actually, there's a lot of very positive things about Colliers Wood, as we all know, with the green spaces, schools, churches, public transport, road crossings and infrastructure and so on. So how can we build on that for this scheme? And there's two key moves here. Firstly, greening of the space between the tube station and Britannia Point, where we're thinking about making a lot more greenery and including cycle parking. And the second big move is the new green link, which links from the end of South Gardens diagonally across to the entrances to the park on Merton High Street, which is a car-free link. It's a green space, playable space, lots of active frontage. Our buildings focus on it, so it's a family-friendly space. And there are many places in Colliers Wood that are nice, family-friendly green spaces, and this needs to be like that. This needs to be a really high-quality space right in the centre. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. So the site specifically is located south of Britannia Point. The proposal currently is for 3 buildings organised around a central green route connecting Wandle Park with the station and Christchurch Road. We're proposing a mix of uses to include residential, co-living and a part hotel to activate the ground floor. I'll hand over to Tim Odchung, I think, to introduce the hotel offer.
Great. Thanks, David. If you can just change to the next slide, please. So along with our residential lettings, we also, the key thing that we do in the UK is we operate hotels. We currently operate 10 hotels, mainly around central London. And we have a few brands that we run those under. Some of them are the big brands that we have franchises with, but we also have our own brand called Zedwell. And it's this brand that we hope to roll out an apart hotel in Colliers Wood. So this hotel is currently established in 4 locations. As you can see on this slide, we've got one in Piccadilly, one in Tocco Road, one in Greenwich, and one that's recently opened in Knightsbridge. These are conventional hotels, but what we're looking to do in Colliers Wood is a new concept that we're delivering, which if you flick to the next slide, you can see some details about that, which is, so you can see in the top right is what we call the cocoon room, which is very much a normal hotel room, but for Colliers Wood, we're developing a new room type, which is more of an apart hotel room, which has a little kitchenette in it, as well as a little living area, so that it's really encouraging longer stays, so that people can cook for themselves and actually have a space to be, if you like. So that's part of our proposals that David will show you how that fits in it. And really that came out of, just for those curious as to why we've gone down this road. So obviously it's in our toolbox of things that we do, but it's also looking at what from the previously submitted application, what we found very challenging was how to deal with the High Street Road, which is very busy in terms of the pollution and traffic noise that you get from that road. And as you know, with residential properties, you need to provide and should provide outside space such as balconies, as well as really prioritizing natural ventilation where it's all possible. Now, with a aparthotel, and also you'll see we have a co-living element on site as well, which is also along that high street. Those are not needed. So a aparthotel does not need a balcony, and also they're normally mechanically ventilated. So it lended itself to be the perfect solution for part of the site that was otherwise very challenging to use for residential use. So we think that this is a really good solution to bring that use forward. And I think there's a real symbiotic relationship with the other users in terms of shared facilities, but also in terms of security and safety and street activation, because the great thing with a co-living or a hotel is that the sort of the amenity living space is at ground level. So you will always have activity at ground level, and also you will have security 24/7, which on site there, which will obviously be great for the area in terms of keeping an eye on things, any antisocial behavior, etc. And it becomes also a bit of a safe haven. If anyone is walking past locally and doesn't feel safe, they can always come in there, and it's always open. So I think that's a real benefit. Thanks.
Yeah, I think exactly as Tim explains, the benefits and the apart hotel can bring to the site. Just to add to that, in terms of its town centre location, we think it could be a real boost for local employment and support for local businesses. The apart hotel elements highlighted here to the northwest corner of the site. Next slide, please. So to introduce our second of the mixed use we're proposing is a co-living block, which we propose is located to the southwest corner. And I think Tim or Chung can explain that far better than I.
Thank you, David. Expanding from what the team has been saying, just to provide a bit more context on co-living. So we tend to get questions asked what co-living may be. So to us, co-living is a modern living arrangement where someone rents a room within a communal property, benefiting from shared amenities and activities designed to foster a sense of community and belonging. So these shared facilities tend to include like cooking, dining, relaxing, and socializing spaces for the residents and their guests. We tend to describe it as more of a lifestyle of a living that allows for sufficient individual space, whilst also providing opportunities for people to socialize within your community, either through coincidental like occurrence, or is it more specific to arrange social events? The residents can stay from anything from a month to many years, but I think to us, the average stay tends to be between 9 to 12 months. And then if we also often get asked about who tends to use these spaces. From our understanding, young professionals and graduates like co-living as a stepping stone into a city, or perhaps a new area that they want to explore. So, and they're not quite yet ready to buy or rent their own flat or homes. So co-living offers a safe and secure environment for them to live whilst there's an established community where they can socialize and make friends. As well as other demographic, maybe individuals stationed for work purposes in a remote city for a period of time where they don't want to live in a hotel environment. We'll describe co-living as affordable and convenient, which offers an all-inclusive bills and flexible leasing terms. So the process for people to is sort of more simplified and streamlined, that suits a wide range of demographics. I hope that explains co-living, and from here I'll pass it over to David.
Thanks, Jung. Sorry, can we just wind back a slide? And just, yeah, finally, in terms of introducing the range of uses, we're proposing a residential building to the east. I think as Tim intimated, it's located to the quieter Christchurch Road, away from the busy main road to the west. We're hoping this will allow the apartments to be naturally ventilated with openable windows away from the traffic noise and pollution. So this is a view taken from Ondle River to the south. The white shading indicates the current thinking in terms of our proposed massing, with the previous scheme height outlined in red. Can see quite a marked contrast in terms of significantly reducing height and bulk from what was in the previous scheme. We feel it's much more comfortable scale for its town centre location. I think next steps in terms of our input, we're looking at refining the building footprints and orientation of the blocks to minimise the silhouette of the proposal. These AXO diagrams are a further comparison between the refused scheme and current thinking. You can see we're now proposing much smaller footprints, shorter buildings with a quantum much reduced. The thinking behind the step massing from the apart hotel to the north, stepping down to the more suburban scale to the east. We're also hoping to provide a more, in our view, coherent ground floor plan compared to previous, which integrates this green link and encourages activity. So just a final slide from us on sustainability. We welcome Merton's particularly rigorous sustainability policies, which we'll be adhering to in all aspects of the design. We like to take a fabric first approach to our design development, which basically means a well insulated building to ensure comfortable and efficient homes. In addition, we'll be looking at glazing ratios, building orientation, and potentially introducing external shading to ensure an efficient and well-detailed building is delivered. Back to Chung to summarise the key benefits of the scheme.
Thank you. Next page, please. From the outset of the project, we established some key objectives to deliver, which we would like to share with everybody. Essentially, for us, establishing a welcoming green space for people to meet, relax, and enjoy, forming a part of our scheme is essential. By establishing a new green pedestrian connection diagonally through the site to help permeability around Colliers Wood Station, strengthen the regeneration of town centres with homes and hotels and other use to create a dynamic environment, as well as creating interesting architecture and highly sustainable buildings with a variety of uses, as you can see within our proposal. So we believe that the additional tourism and a positive impact will increase footfall, helping the local businesses, whilst the different uses will increase the employment for the local people as well. So I hope that's clear, and thank you for your time today, and back to Matt.
Thanks very much, everyone. And it's time to turn to questions. A quick reminder, sorry, the best way to put those questions to us is to type them in the box below the screen you're watching at the moment, or give us a call on the helpline if you need to, 0800 511 8225. I'm going to put our first question to James. And James, it's a question about affordable housing. And a couple of people have raised this issue, which I can summarise as this. Will there be new affordable housing anywhere in the development? And does the co-living include affordable housing? James, can you tell us about that?
Thanks, Matt. So the level of affordable housing will be discussed with Merton Council as part of the pre-application process. Just to be clear, the hotel part of the scheme does not generate a requirement for affordable housing, but the co-living and the traditional housing elements will have you can either do a payment in lieu, or some schemes where the site allows, you can do traditional affordable housing alongside the co-living. That's yet to be decided, but that it'll be decided in due course and discussed with the council. And then the actual quantum of affordable housing will be dictated by what's known as a viability report that will be submitted with the application, and that will essentially inform the quantum of affordable that can be viably delivered as part of the scheme. So hopefully that answers the question, Matt.
Yeah, I think it does. Thanks very much. I'm going to turn to Paul next. Paul, we've been asked a couple of times about the area to the front of Britannia Point, between it and the tube station. Does this application give us the opportunity to do anything there?
Yes, well, the simple answer to that is yeah, absolutely. We're very keen to do that, and I think we're keen to make it green for a start off, which helps with sustainable drainage and rain gardens, but also gives the opportunity to plant trees, which helps with the wind effects and microclimate, which makes it a more comfortable place to sit and dwell, so we can put seating in. And also we think cycle parking is a big part of this. We know that the cycle parking that's there at the moment is used by the general public and people wanting to put their bikes there when they go on the tube. And we're interested in talking to TfL about that and how they see the capacity and whether there is more capacity needed. So, and just to emphasise, that's a pure benefit to the public. It's not to do with our residents particularly. Yeah, so there are many things we're looking forward to doing there, and that will be within the application and part of what will be delivered by the development.
Okay, thanks. Let's talk to Tim first about this next question and design. We've been asked for a bit more clarity on what the new buildings might actually look like. Now, I appreciate we might be at the early stage, but can you talk to us about that?
Yes, no, absolutely. So as I mentioned right at the beginning, we're not at the stage where we've started to refine and define what these buildings look like, but perhaps this question is because they're concerned it'll look like Britannia Point. Britannia Point looks the way it does, largely because it's an existing building that was reclad. This is obviously an opportunity for us to start afresh. We like brick a lot and other natural materials, and I think that it's a timeless material that's stands the test of time. And obviously it's contextual in the sense that there's a lot of brick around the area. So yeah, and also from an environmental sustainability point of view, we want to have the right size of windows, big enough to allow great light through to the flats, but small enough so that you don't get overheating inside the flat. So there's that balance. And that work is obviously yet to be carried out, but we see this very much as probably brick buildings, but yeah, early doors.
All right, thank you for that. This is something that came up quite a lot at yesterday's session, and we've had one question about it today. It's about the pressures on infrastructure that new residents might bring, and I think we'll turn to James for an explanation about the rules on this. I've summarised it this way: who will pay for the new infrastructure that the residents will need? New infrastructure being things like school places or GP places, yeah, all the new people will bring new needs. James, how does that work?
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, it's a very important question. It's something that comes up on most schemes that we work on. We'll be following the rules that govern all developments. And this planning permission is granted, we'll be required to pay what's known as a community infrastructure levy to Merton Council, who in turn will then pay some of that money goes to the GLA, who usually spend the money on transport infrastructure, gets fed into TfL. Obviously, we want the money to be spent in Colliers Wood, and we hope the council would agree to that. We don't negotiate the community infrastructure levy payment. They're fixed rates that are applied to each different land use, and it's payable on a square metre basis. So it's not for negotiation, and it generates a significant figure, particularly for a development like this. So it's likely to be in the millions. And then separately, the council also has the opportunity where there's site-specific mitigation that's required, that's identified as part of the planning process, and those contributions and mitigation can be secured in a legal agreement as part of the planning application. So that will materialise as we work through the process with Merton.
Understood, James. I think we're staying with you for the time being, though others may want to come in. Our questioner puts it this way: how can more high-storey buildings be in the interests of the area? They suggest that low-rise buildings are more appropriate. So, starting with James, is there a planning policy issue on the heights of the buildings in this area?
So yeah, I mean, it's twofold really. Firstly, I think planning policy at all levels, from national policy through to the London plan to Merton's local plan, directs higher density development to sustainable locations. This site is, it's in a town centre, it's in the opportunity area, it's got excellent transport links with the tube station on the doorstep. So naturally, that's where you would want to put the majority of your development. So there's a key driver for higher density development in this area. And then also in the Merton local plan, there's a site-specific allocation for this site, and that sets some indicative parameters around building heights, which we're very mindful of, and we're in accordance with. But that said, when you're developing high density development, you also have to be aware of impacts on particularly on neighbours. So we'll be doing all the technical assessments, daylight, sunlight, wind, etc., just to make sure that what we are proposing, despite it being tall and dense, that it's going to have create a good environment for people that are going to live there, and also the existing community.
Thanks. And I think Tim, no, not Tim, I beg your pardon. David, you wanted to step in on a couple of aspects of the design, didn't you, David?
Yes, thank you. I was just going to chip in more specifically to the site. And we're aware it's a challenge in terms of the height, Britannia Point to the north, and yeah, the more suburban scale to the east, Christchurch Road, and beyond. It's part of our thinking in terms of stepping down the massing from kind of north down to southeast, to kind of mediate between the two scales we're working within. We've also engaged with a heritage and townscape consultant who's assisting in terms of reviewing our current proposals from key views around the site.
Okay,
Tim. Sorry, I was just going to add in terms of I don't know if you can go back to the deck to show the view with the red outline of the previous scheme, but also just to explain that I think at the moment it's fair to say that obviously Britannia Point stands alone and it's quite visible from a number of views. This sort of
Let me just interrupt you, Tim. I'm just going to ask
Yeah.
our technical director to go back to the presentation, and I believe it's the second to last slide or
That's
the third to last slide. I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that. But Tim, carry on talking in the meantime.
Yes. So this idea is that we're staying below we're not going any higher than Britannia Point, and so what will happen is, as you're looking in the long views, but also in the short views towards Colliers Wood and Britannia Point, not the one previous to this, please.
Yeah, we go back one slide, please. There it is.
So as you can see here, Britannia Point is largely cloaked by our new Par Hotel building on the left there. So you can see a little bit of dark blue, which is probably a quarter of Britannia Point. So from these sort of views, you can see that we're not higher than Britannia Point, but we do step up to it, and we also basically provide a more gentle transition and cover to that block of glass with something that's hopefully more considerate and reflective of the area. So I think there's actually an improvement, arguably, in the views from the south as you look up towards Britannia Point.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that deals with that. I've only got a couple more questions at the moment, so if you're watching us and do have something in mind, please let us know now. Type it in that box below the video you're watching, and we look forward to getting that question and answering it. This is an issue that's come up quite a lot, and I'm going to turn to James. It's about parking. Will there be parking on site, and will there be an impact on parking on local streets? James, talk to us about parking.
But yeah, so we know parking is a major issue. We have to follow the rules and policies put in place by Merton and the Mayor of London. The policies are aimed at reducing dependency on the private car, and that is why developments of this nature are generally car-free. As you'll be aware, the application is the application site is very close to a tube station and a number of bus routes, and the level of public transport accessibility means that the supply of car parking spaces is generally discouraged. There will be some mitigation in that new residents won't be able to apply for parking permits to park in local streets. There'll be room for delivery vehicles and some blue badge spaces on site. And we should also add that evidence is that more and more people who choose to live in new developments of this nature, particularly co-living, don't own a car. Indeed, we would say anybody who has a car should consider things very carefully before moving here. And we can't promise that there won't be additional pressures, but the evidence is that this is less of a problem than is sometimes supposed. And then just finally, I would add that there'll be a significant amount of cycle parking proposed as part of this proposal. So I think the general message is that there's a range of different transport methods. I think both public transport and cycling and equally walking. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question, Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've only got one more question at the moment, so this may be our last question unless anything else comes in. And it's a question for Tim. And it's Tim, if permission is granted, how long will it take to build?
I would say a scheme of this size, you're looking at probably 2 to 2.5 years in terms from putting a spade in the ground, something like that. And obviously, being a considerate contractor is a priority for us. So to minimize noise, something we're looking at a lot with our other project is prefabricating elements. So you bring in things like bathrooms as pods, etc., so that you're shortening your time on site and the disruption on site because you're bringing in finished elements rather than building them on site. So that's certainly something we're really interested in looking at for this one as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I checked my adjacent screen and don't see any further questions, so I'll start bringing this afternoon's session to a close and thanking you for your questions. We do want you to share views on the project. Like I said, you do that by hitting the share your views button along the top or further down the page you're watching at the moment. Now, this afternoon's session's been recorded, as was yesterday's, and they'll both be available to view on this website in the next few days. We'll send an email to everybody who's registered as soon as the recordings are available to watch. The questions are what we call, the recordings are what we call timestamps, which means you'll be able to click on the text of a question and go straight to that part of the recording to watch that question and answer. So that will help you find the areas that are of most interest to you. And those recordings will have the option for subtitles that you can switch on if that's helpful to you. Now, if you've further questions, you can contact us in various ways. During office hours, you can call our project-free phone number. It's a different number to the event helpline. It's on the website, and it is 0800 955 1042. That's 0800 955 1042. Now, this part of the consultation, the early part of the consultation, will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, week 14th of June, but the website will remain live and it'll be updated as appropriate. At the end of the consultation process, before the application is submitted, we're going to write a document called a Statement of Community Involvement. That will cover the consultation that's been undertaken, any changes as a result of the consultation, and team's response to all the issues that have been raised. You'll be able to read that document along with all the other documents that get submitted as part of the planning application. Just download them from Merton's website. So to conclude, I'd like to thank our panel here this afternoon, and I'd like you to thank everybody who's joined us this afternoon to watch. Thanks for taking part in this Community UK event. And again, please don't forget to share your views. From everybody here, good afternoon.